Can you hear us okay above the jobs and the metal manufacturing? All going on all right? All right. Glenn, you're right to go?
Yep, good to go.
All right, everyone's happy to go. Well, it's great to be here in Murray with Glenn Gibson from IDEC, also with local member and Minister for Employment and Training, Di Farmer, as well as our Minister for Manufacturing, Glenn Butcher. For decades now, Queensland has done very well from fossil fuels. But we all know that climate change is real. You only need to look at what's happening across the east coast of Australia with severe weather events, especially with what's happening in Victoria today. And our thoughts go to those Victorians who are being faced with another severe weather event. Prices for coal and gas traditionally have also been quite low around the world, but in the last 2.5 years we've seen the prices of those commodities skyrocket. The global price for gas has gone up by 217% and the global price for coal by over 500%. Meanwhile, manufacturers like this one and many hundreds across the state are looking for cleaner, cheaper energy. The green growth of Queensland manufacturers is also a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. That's why we have released the Queensland Energy and Jobs Plan, a $62 billion plan to deliver manufacturers like this one the clean electricity so that they can prosper and grow. Now, independent modelling shows that our Energy and Jobs Plan will support the creation of 100,000 jobs across the state. Importantly, many of those will be in the manufacturing sector, building the components to deliver the Queensland supergrid. That independent modelling forecasts that around 36,000 of those jobs will be in manufacturing workplaces just like this one. There's sorts of industries, whether it's in metal refining, resources extraction or in fabrication itself, that will grow as a result of our significant investment in the energy transition. That same modelling indicates that our investment will drive a $26 billion uplift in Queensland's economy. Now that includes 5,500 new jobs in metal refining to support the sorts of inputs to businesses like this one right here in Murray. But to transform our energy system, of course, we'll have to build the Queensland supergrid. And just last week, the Minister for State Development released the Energy Manufacturing Opportunities Prospectus. This is a call out to businesses just like IDEC here in Murray, but right across Queensland for expressions of interest to support the construction of the supergrid through locally manufactured Queensland product. In fact, we put out a call for 2,000 wind towers and nacelles, more than 7,000 wind turbine blades, 25 million solar PV rooftop panels and nearly 7,000 batteries. We've had 114 companies just like this one express an interest already, and there's another week to go. We're encouraging those Queensland manufacturers to search state development energy manufacturing opportunities to express their interests. Now, by delivering low emissions and low cost electricity in Queensland, we can grow industries that are economically significant, large electricity consumers just like this one. By applying our Buy Queensland procurement approach to our government-owned corporations, the big energy companies that will buy this kit, we can ensure that manufacturers like this one become part of the Queensland supply chain to deliver the supergrid. We're also looking to see if we can start making product here that has traditionally been wholly imported. If there's one thing that Queensland has said time and time again throughout the COVID pandemic experience was that we should make more things here in Queensland, and we agree. That's why we're here today. Now, there is already a clean energy jobs boom happening across Brisbane. Whilst 95% of our investment in the Energy and Jobs Plan will be in the regions, we're seeing growth right here in Queensland. In fact, just in our local neighbourhood coming here today, many of you would have driven past one of the world's leading EV charging manufacturers, Tritium. We've got the first hydrogen fuel pump at a service station just down the road here at the BP service station in Lytton. We've got the new Electro Group renewable energy training facility that's just opened a couple of blocks from here. This is all about delivering an economic transformation where Queenslanders get to be part of the future prosperity through cleaner, cheaper energy. That's why it's so important we have a roadmap for manufacturing here in Queensland so that Queensland can make the things needed to deliver the Queensland supergrid. So I'm very excited to be here with the Minister for Manufacturing as he lays out a roadmap for ensuring that Queenslanders can deliver this great energy and jobs plan.
Thanks, Mick, and it is great to be here at IDEC in Brisbane, a great manufacturer, as we can see, doing plenty of manufacturing work for our industries right here, right now. What the Energy and Jobs Plan is doing for manufacturers here in Queensland is a game changer. We now have manufacturers looking at ways that they can get a piece of this $62 million pie to start making, as we heard, the wind turbines, the wind-driven blades that we use in our systems. We want to make sure electrolyzers are being made as part of our hydrogen industry moving forward. Not only that, but as we've heard from the Minister previously, the new hydro industries in Queensland, 2 large-scale hydros, will utilise exactly what we're seeing here, steel fabrication and plenty of other opportunities for manufacturers brought forward. So Queensland manufacturers incorporate about $20 billion of investment every year. We want to make sure now that we are moving forward with our 10-year advanced manufacturing roadmap with an update today. What we are now going to be supporting on top of the roadmap that was introduced in 2016 is 5 new strategies on the back of this energy plan. Driving advanced manufacturing, which you'll see here today, with advanced robotics in welding in this facility happening right now. Supporting manufacturers to grow a carbon neutral future into this area in Queensland. We want to make sure that not only are industries getting to a carbon neutral footprint themselves, but also having the opportunity to make the rest of Queensland a carbon neutral friendly cities around Queensland. We want to make sure that we involve more women into manufacturing here in Queensland. For too long, these industries have been based around men only. We are now starting to see women get into advanced manufacturing, and it's really exciting to see. Part of this strategy moving forward now is to help us position ourselves so more of these industries can get women into the workplace. Not only that, we have suffered for so long in this country in relation to apprentices. In this facility here, you have Boilermakers. As I drove in, there's a sign on the front gate, Boilermakers wanted. And that's not just here in Brisbane, that's right across the state and right across the country. So we're calling out as part of this strategy to move forward is to get more apprentices put under facilities just like this. They have 4 apprentices here at IDEC. We want to make sure that this is multiplied across the state to make sure that these industries can have tradesmen into the future. So it's great to be here to be celebrating this update of the advanced manufacturing plan that we're doing here in Queensland, but we also want to sell it to the world. As Minister de Brenni said, people of Queensland don't want things made in China anymore. They want to make them right here in Queensland. And our manufacturers are stepping up to the challenge. They are doing it every day. Now is the time for them to pivot, to get into these new industries, particularly in renewables, and be part of this great news story that's coming for Queensland over the next decade. So I'll hand over to Minister Di Farmer. What we do need to do is also support our manufacturers on the trainings and skills that they need, and she will put a bit of a roadmap out on that as well.
Thanks so much. It's fantastic to be here at IDEC, a local manufacturing business based in Murray that is supplying major projects all over Brisbane, all over Queensland, all over Australia and the world, and we are so proud to have a company of this size here in our backyard. This is going to play such an important role in our energy and jobs plan, and we know that that is a plan that is big and bold, and it has positioned Queensland as a world leader in clean and affordable energy. The manufacturing sector in Queensland is going to play such a huge part in that, because we simply cannot build all the facilities we're going to need to make that plan work unless we have got that manufacturing workforce and the manufacturing expertise right behind us. And that's where skills and training come in. We know we're going to need 100,000 jobs. They're going to be generated by the energy plan. And we are planning now for those workers. The manufacturing skills roadmap tells us where we need those jobs, where the projects are going to be, when we need it, what's going to be required, and we'll come in behind and make sure we know how many workers we're going to need in what parts of Queensland and what training they want. Here at IDEC, they have 3 apprentices. They need more workers, and we're hearing that message from right across Queensland, and that's why we've got a plan for filling those jobs. And the women in manufacturing, part of that plan is so important. We know that it's quite difficult for women to take part in male-dominated professions, and we're starting right in our schools, and we're actually working with those schools to get women interested and supported into going into industries like this. We've set up world-leading training facilities, renewable energy training facility at Pinkenbar. We've got a new advanced manufacturing facility coming up at TAFE in Bowley early in the new year. We've got a new facility for plumbing and gas fitting coming up very soon in the next couple of months down at Beenleigh. We are putting the money into these facilities, and we have a $1.2 billion skills and training budget that are going to be aimed at making sure we've got the workforce to make sure this energy plan can happen as we see it. I'll hand over to Glenn now, who runs IDEC.
Thank you, Di. Thank you all. Welcome to the IDEC facility this afternoon. It's great to have you all here. For my part, just a couple of words of thanks to the Queensland Government for their support for IDEC in respect to a smart manufacturing grant, which has enabled us to procure the not only just the Australian leading but world best practice when it comes to processing of steel and the machinery that is for those of us. Also, I say thank you to my team out the back there. They've made it all happen, and we're very pleased that they've done so. It's been a great addition for us. It's provided us a real springboard, an opportunity to take only work on in Queensland but also around the country, and even with some international context too. So thank you very much. We're happy to show the machine to you when we wander around. Thank you.
Happy to take any questions about the manufacturing plan, the energy and jobs plan. We'll take a look.
There's no quotas, but what we're now trying to do is make sure that the young women, particularly school-aged women, as the Minister mentioned, to give them an idea of what this is about. So we're looking at getting into schools, we're looking at getting in training facilities. We have a fantastic program here, a Back to Work program, which will certainly start to focus on how do we get women into these type of industries. So no set quotas, but from where we've come from to where we are today, certainly on the rise, but we want to make sure that we continue to grow that. When you calculate figures in manufacturing, you know, I don't want to be calculating the numbers of women in the offices or doing that sort of work. I want to see women on the floor really getting into these industries and celebrating the great news story that we have. So yeah, no set figures, but we certainly want to keep pushing forward with it.
We've just released in the last couple of months the Queensland Workforce Strategy that goes directly to those issues. And we need in Queensland not only skilled jobs but unskilled jobs. And the first tranche of that workforce strategy puts $70 million into connecting employers with workers who are needed now and in the future. It starts in schools, and manufacturing is a great example of that. We've got industry sectors going into schools and actually giving our young people a real idea of what opportunities there are, perhaps in areas they've never imagined before. We are tailoring our skills and training system to look at what jobs are we going to need in 5 years' time, and making sure that our skills and training investment is going into those jobs. We know there are 184,000 people in Queensland right now who actually could work now but could actually work more hours. We know there are 170,000 people in Queensland who currently face barriers to employment. So our programs under our workforce strategy are aimed at connecting employers with those people and providing them with the skills that they need to fill the jobs that are going to be greatest in demand. We are starting to see those applications coming through already, and what we've also seen is that the visa applications where there may be people actually already in Australia and have been in Australia for quite some time. There was a huge backlog, years. People were waiting years to actually hear that they could stay in Australia. Thanks to the Albanese government, they announced very quickly, and certainly at their National Jobs Summit, that was a major source of workforce, and so they have got people working around the clock, and we are starting to see the effects of that. We certainly don't want the people who are already working in Australia to be forced to actually leave Australia. We want those here. So there's a couple of different ways we have to approach the skilled worker issue, but that is certainly one of them.
Just while you're there, Mark Bailey put out a statement about down superior train services in Maryborough. Given that that's with Downer, which is an active client who is now banned from working with the Queensland government, do you think there's any conflict of interest in awarding them the contract, given that NACA was helping negotiate?
I am not aware of that issue, but I am sure that there has been a process that is completely transparent.
Yeah, sure. So the release of water from Ivanhoe has gone seamlessly at the moment, with minimal impact, if any, at all. Colleges Road Crossing has been open the whole time. We intend for that to continue unless we get some pretty severe rain going through. We're currently down to about 88.7, so nearly a quarter of the way of the drawdown at the moment is at present. We will continue to make sure that those releases are done by the way that we said we would, nice and steady over a 2-week period. And don't forget, if you're still at home, you've got a 2-week period to get out the gurney, get out the hose and give your house a good clean prior to the Christmas period. What we've seen over the weekend was quite a lot of people getting out and about and doing that. Even heard a story before that someone went to Bunnings to buy a gurney and they're all sold out. So well done Brisbane, well done South East Queensland for doing your bit to help out getting prepared for this oncoming wet season. So we are focused on making sure that we do this in a nice, timely manner with those releases being done as we said we would. At the moment, it's over 14 days, but what we've seen over the weekend, the controlled releases have come down quite considerably. As I said, a quarter of the way there in 2 days. So we could get down to 8 or 10 days, and if that does happen, we will certainly stop, because 80% will be the temporary full supply level, and that's where we will stop. Just be mindful, any inflows into Somerset or into Ivanhoe, that water, once it goes into Ivanhoe, that means it's into our flood compartment. We will be releasing that as we need to over this oncoming wet season. Well, the federal government has said that they will be reviewing quite a few of these projects. Personally, the main one I'm focused on here in Queensland at this point in time is Paradise Dam. We had a commitment from the previous federal government of their $600 million to match our $600 million. I've talked to the Water Minister, Tanya Palaszczuk, and she has given me a guarantee that they will continue to fund that project. It's critical. That work's happening now on the ground. Despite what the federal LNP members are saying in the local region, once again scaring the local irrigators and the local communities about the fact that this won't get funded, we have already delivered $30 million of investment to get that project underway. So for them to be saying negatively every time they open their mouths in the Bundaberg region, just stop it. This project is going ahead. It's a great project, and the federal government will come on board and support it. We will release it very shortly. This has been a large piece of work by the panel that was done. We've seen the federal government release their CSIRO report on the Bradfield. We will be releasing ours in due course, which will be very, very shortly. Just about, yep. But,
What's the justification for keeping sitting on it so long?
well, as I said, it was a large piece of work that had to be reviewed, but also we were mindful at the time that the federal government, under the previous LNP government, wanted to work with us on a release with their CSIRO report and also our report. So that work by the CSIRO has been done and released, and we'll be releasing ours very shortly to match that agreement. Sorry, what was it? Oh, okay, sorry. Mick can take that first.
Yeah, sorry, Marlene. What was that? Yeah. Yeah. So the $741 million program to support the recovery of those flood-affected homeowners is the largest flood recovery project, natural disaster recovery project since the recovery of Darwin from Cyclone Tracy. Every homeowner that's eligible will receive some form of support. Millions of dollars of support have already flowed to those households in terms of emergency support. Those that aren't eligible for or approved for that buyback scheme will be eligible and approved through other parts of the scheme. Of course, there's the resilient retrofitting and the house raising as well. And so we'll make sure that households who were impacted by those floods receive one of those types of support across the whole scheme. Well, I think our estimations is that there is adequate funds within the envelope to ensure that households are supported in one way or another, so that they don't lose everything again, and that's the critical thing. So we designed the scheme to make sure that if a flood like that happens again, that people won't lose everything. We're still confident that through the allocations that have been divided amongst the three streams, that will be the case. So every household that applied for a buyback is not necessarily best placed to receive a buyback. There are homes that would be better treated through the resilient retrofit or through the raising. And so it's an important piece of work that we work with those homeowners on a case-by-case basis to deliver them the best outcome within that funding envelope. I think it's also really important to remember that the next natural disaster that comes through Queensland could be very different to the one that has just occurred. And so whilst we're focused on recovery, we're also focused on taking real action on climate change. That's why we're here today calling for growth, leading a growth in manufacturing, so that we can make sure that we deliver on our Queensland Energy and Jobs Plan. If we don't take the systemic reforms to tackle climate action, there'll be more frequent and more significant natural disasters down the track. And so there's a chance that we will need bigger and bigger funds, so we've got to take that mitigating action up front as well. Tim. So I think there are real challenges in the housing market at the moment, the biggest of which we see is market capacity. There is more tradies in Queensland now than ever before. There are more building companies now than ever before, but most of our capacity in the construction market is tied up in doing home renovations and home extensions. In fact, the perverse outcome of the poorly designed home builder stimulus package means that more tradies now are making homes nicer than actually making homes for people who don't have one. And so until that washes through the system, calls for thousands more houses won't actually deliver those thousands more houses. We have the most significant investment in social housing since in a generation. We will always do more, but it's not the only answer to providing homes for people is through the social housing system. So we've got to address those market capacity issues, which are really going to be around. Well, I think adding more demands into the construction sector at the moment won't deliver more supply. What we need is long-term strategies. What we need is immediate responses. We've seen that from the Palaszczuk government. We'll see more coming from the housing summit that happens on Thursday. I think working collectively with the community sector, with the construction sector, that we'll see some great ideas come out of the housing summit on Thursday. I'm looking forward to partnering with industry to deliver on those. Look, it's really difficult to say to the market that you've got to go and wind back 2 years of poorly targeted stimulus measures. So people signed contracts in good faith through the home builder scheme. There was a significant missed opportunity. Prime Minister Morrison could have taken that opportunity to put that home builder stimulus into building more social housing, and they didn't. What we now have is all of our market capacity, a large proportion of it tied up in making homes nicer, which is great. But it doesn't deliver a single roof over anyone's head. All of that $1 trillion of debt that was amassed by the Morrison government, no legacy public infrastructure, not one single new road, not one new bridge, not one new social home. A significant missed opportunity. A once in 100-year pandemic event, and the response missed the biggest opportunity that an Australian government has ever had. And of course, Australians recognise that and they changed the government. I'm looking forward to seeing what the Albanese government does in this space. We know that they are committed to resolving the issues around housing affordability, and we'll work closely with them.
One of the criticisms of the government has been there hasn't been enough goal setting in terms of social housing. The Auditor General noticed that I think the government in March 2022, the department intends to commence building another 6,365 buildings by 2025. Given the criticism, there hasn't been enough ambitious goal setting by the government. Do you think that is something that is going to change?
Oh, look, we can always do more, and we'll always continue to try and do more. But we need multifaceted responses to the housing crisis that is facing the entire nation. This is not just a challenge here in Queensland, it's a challenge in New South Wales and Victoria as well. And of course, we want to make sure that we do everything that we possibly can. We want to make sure that people have safe homes to live in, they have affordable homes. Well, we've committed to meeting with industry and the community housing sector through the Housing Summit this Thursday. I know that the Deputy Premier's also recently made announcements around supporting secondary dwellings, around accelerating housing strategies in places like the Redlands. Let's see what comes out of the Housing Summit on Thursday. Oh, look, I think it's pretty irresponsible when the headlines say that there are people who can't make ends meet to utilise that opportunity to make super profits. I think most Australians would recognise as pretty mean-spirited. Of course, investors can make a return, and the market will determine what that return is. But whilst the economy is under such pressure and so many households are under pressure, I'd really encourage real estate agents to think twice about those sort of messages. I know most landlords are doing the right things by their tenants and being really quite modest and respectful of their circumstances and their situation. We encourage all landlords to do the same. That's right. Thanks. Terrific. All right, Glenn, you want to show us around?
Yes, I'd love to show you around. So, Dad's going to bring Clem and Aiden over. I want to introduce you to the